All right, I sent that over, Tracy.
All right, give me a minute for it to come through.
Well, while we're waiting, I'm going to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving.
Oh,
Thank you very
thanks
much, and the
to
very same to
you.
you.
Thank you.
I was waiting for somebody to do it.
Well, you got it, Chris. Here I am, a big old turkey.
It's fun because with my kids that I see, I always ask them, "What's your favorite thing to eat or dish to eat?" And I try to keep score. And macaroni and cheese almost wins every year.
I can't make that noise.
No.
Well, if the cheese comes from a cow, I guess I go moo.
Right, there you go.
So are we set to go or are we still waiting?
Not yet. I posted it, but it's not coming up when I click on it.
Okay,
So let me
all right.
redo the post.
Okay, thanks, Tracy.
Uh-huh.
Do any of you all live over in St. Tammany Parish?
Mm-mm.
No.
My
No.
son does.
Because I tell you what, I've been having all kinds of trouble with the internet on the North Shore. Somebody told me Spectrum is like replacing all of the cables with fiber optics, and parents can't get their kids on to do their online homework because they can't connect to the websites. Strange stuff.
I'll text him and see if he knows anything.
All right, you're good to go.
Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Identification of participants, Warren Lowe,
Rob Dames.
Kenneth Rochelle.
Darla Burnett.
okay, constitutes a quorum. And we assume the agenda meets the criteria. Any public comments, Dr.
None at this
Van?
time, sir.
Okay. So we really only have two items on the agenda. The first is supposed to read status of the proposed rule. And as you recall, we had a kind of emergency meeting a few weeks back because when the rule first came up before the board, there was some concern, at least as I understood it, that someone thought we were going to be supervising NPs and PAs. And of course, that's far from the truth. But the board met again. The board postponed action on the rule. The board met again, and I appeared by Zoom with the board, and I just kind of jumped into that and assured the board that at least it was my understanding that that was a concern, and tried to lay that to rest. We did get one comment from Dr. Taylor, and he changed one word, and I don't even recall what it was, but it wasn't significant in any way. So at that point, there were no further questions, and I was excused from the meeting, and I assumed that we would get a positive vote from the committee. But something happened from there, and so I found out later that I guess it happened in executive session that a sentence was added to the rule. And maybe Dr. Van or Patricia can tell us how that transpired.
Well, Dr. Horton added an amendment that the board felt very strongly about. We lobbied hard against it, tried to make them understand what you were really trying to achieve. But I don't think we were able to be persuasive enough, and it is on your screen right now in red. And again, I think the key here is this is what the board has decided to do. And this process is beginning. So you'll know this whole rule change will be published in the Register. I think it's December the 10th. Is that correct, Patricia? Or is the deadline the 10th and it's the 15th?
The deadline is the 10th and it comes out on the 20th.
Okay. So then it starts a 35-day comment period, which you all are entitled to, anybody's entitled to comment. Then at that point, at the end of the comment period, the board may or may not amend anything, and then it goes to the AG's office for any antitrust issues. And they are very active and do a good job, and we are dealing with them on other rules. And then at that point, it comes back to us, and we either make the changes that are recommended by the AGs, or we stop the whole process. But because we know it's not going to go through, they make the changes, and then it gets renoticed and final notice, if you will. And then at that point, if anybody has umbrage or takes umbrage with the rules as we're promulgating, they can ask for an oversight hearing by either the Senate or the House Health and Welfare Committee, who is our oversight committees. And then if they make a recommendation to change it, the board generally would do it at that point. But again, if that process, there's no comments, then it goes to the governor, who ultimately has to veto it. If he doesn't like it. If he likes it, then it gets passed. Again, I think the key here is that we've started the process with the recommendations that the board has made, and we are certainly understanding of your concern and want to tell you what the processes are.
Yeah, good.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm colorblind, so could you tell me what of this is in red?
The last sentence
sorry,
in
how about-
paragraph B.
I'm sorry,
Last
wait.
sentence in paragraph B.
The last line in paragraph B. Okay. Medication changes require physician approval. I wanted to ask a quick question about the whole thing then before we get back to that. In paragraph A, does it mean the medical psychologist shall provide the supervising or collaborating physician with consultant, blah, blah, blah? I'm
Sorry, can you say that again, Rob, please?
Yeah, I guess I'm just being dense on a Friday afternoon. In paragraph A, the second sentence, the medical psychologist shall include the supervising or collaborating physician consultations, collaborations, notices, updates, or summaries that may be required. Does that mean that the medical psychologist shall provide the supervising or collaborating physician with consultations, collaborations, notices, updates, or summaries? Is that what it means?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
I
And
see the word shall underlined in that second sentence, and I think that's the word that was changed. I don't even remember what was there before, but it doesn't matter because that it's in my opinion, a non-significant change, and it still reflects what's going to happen.
Yeah, the medical psychologist sends all this stuff to the the collaborative physician, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a question.
Okay, well, so really, the only significant change is the last paragraph, the last sentence on paragraph B. Do you see the fly in the ointment there, Darla?
It's contrary to what the law says.
It's
I think-
contrary to what we do.
And I think it's contrary to what the advanced practice part of the law actually says.
So this is without certificate of advanced practice.
No, it just says medical psychologist.
No, up above, were the standards for prescribing by medical psychologists without a certificate of advanced practice.
Without a certificate, okay. But it is not what most people do, yeah.
Yeah.
But
So-
for advanced practice, it's definitely outside of that scope.
Yeah, but I hear exactly what you're saying. That's what I was wondering about too. This specifically only applies to medical psychologists without a certificate of advanced practice, correct?
That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, the
That's what I
medication
read,
changes
too.
require a physician approval if a medical psychologist doesn't have an AP.
Mhm.
Okay.
Well, and I guess the other question would be, what's a medication change? Is it a dosage change? Is it a antidepressant to other type of medication change? Is it just a Lexapro to Prozac change? Like, what is a medication change?
That was my question. It really is vague, and it's also vague about who actually. I think it means the medical psychologist has to contact the primary, contact the supervising or collaborating physician, but it's not totally clear to me that, because when I first heard that, I thought it was I didn't see the language, I just heard it, and I thought it was requiring the PA or their NP to get permission from from their collaborating physician or a supervising physician. I guess that's clear enough that it is the medical psychologist that has to track down the supervisor or collaborator. I just think it's a little, well, I know what's going to happen in practical practice, because it happened to everybody through this whole process. You follow the law and you contact the primary care physician, and the primary care physician, or in this case, the primary care physician and the NP, say, look, we called you in on this because we didn't know what to do. And we want you to do what you're trained to do. You know this stuff better than we do, so don't be calling me about medication changes from 30 milligrams to 40 milligrams or changing from Zoloft to Lexapro. I don't have time for that. I've heard that over and over. Everybody's heard it over and over.
Mhm.
And it's, well, I don't know any way around it. If that's what the board thinks is important, then I don't know that we need to fight it necessarily. But
I
it just
agree
doesn't
with
work
you.
in practical practice.
No, but
And
I think that what kind of medication changes? If you're going from 10 milligrams to 20 milligrams, or is it changing from sertraline to desvenlafaxine? Is it a change in the drug, or is it a change in the class of drugs, or is it a change just in dosage, or is it all of any kind of change?
Well, the way I read it is it's any kind of change.
I think it's very onerous for everybody, and I do agree with going back to what you said at first. Like, I don't think it's how people generally practice. Like, usually you, especially when you're not advanced practice, you make initial contact with the provider who contacted you when you make a treatment plan. You review that treatment plan with them, usually verbally and in writing. And at that point, you say, we're going to do these things. We're going to try this. If that doesn't work, we'll try this. And then you only go back and re-talk to the provider if that treatment plan isn't being followed, or if you need to make something beyond what you originally discussed. So this is saying every little change you make, you have to refer back, which I think is cumbersome for everybody. But
Can we make a request to change the wording to say medication treatment protocol changes require physician approval?
Only through the public comment at this point.
okay.
Because that would be more in line with what is actually happening.
What's going to happen in this case too is that you're going to contact a physician who really has no knowledge of the patient many times. Like, I don't even know that patient. I trust my NP to handle his or her treatment, talk to her about it or talk to him about it. And it is difficult. We're going to run into that a lot, or the non-advanced practice people are going to run into that a lot. I don't know this patient. We called you because you know what to do. Do it. Don't be bothering us.
Mhm.
We hear this all the time.
Well, there's a logistic problem too. What happens if, you see a patient on a Friday and you want to change the medication regimen, and then you need to call someone and say, look, this is what I'm proposing, and it's a Friday afternoon, and nobody's available till next Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
got sticky, and I had situations like that, and I would just have to tell the patient, this is the change that I'm planning to make. I have to talk to your primary care physician before we do that. This might take a couple of days. What gets sticky is if it's more of an emergency situation.
Yeah, if you have a patient that if you intervene now, it's going to prevent more serious problems down the road. But if it takes you 4 or 5 days to connect with the supervising physician or the collaborating physician who doesn't even know the patient, and during this time the patient is deteriorating, it's difficult.
Mhm.
So if we're not allowed to make any more suggestions to the board, if this is this is what's going to be published as rules, then the next step would be for us to make sure people are paying attention to that and making comments if they feel strongly about it.
That's what I understand. Patricia and Van, is that right? At this point, any comments will have to be to the rule after it's published in the register.
Patricia, you want to comment?
The ability to make further comments that can be and will be addressed and considered by the board, they have to be, is after the notice of intent goes out in the register.
So let me ask this question. Van and Patricia, understand the purpose of the public comments, obviously, but who actually reads those and makes some sort of summary or compendium to present to the board? I know the board doesn't read every comment.
They do. Interestingly enough, most rules are not particularly controversial and there's not a large hue and cry. Sometimes we get absolutely no comments whatsoever. But if any comments are registered, if any comments are received, they are presented to the board for consideration, each and every one of them.
Okay, so the full board has access to every comment.
Yes.
Okay.
And
so
you can request a hearing. We do not have a hearing unless it is formally requested, but everybody can submit written comments, which we include as part of the agenda for the next meeting when they review it. But if you would like to, if somebody wants to request a hearing, we would have a hearing. Now, it would not be of the board. We would have a court reporter. The hearing would take place. The comments would be made verbally. It would be transcribed and then put into the minutes of the board meeting next time it meets.
So this is strictly a hypothetical question because I don't know how people are going to comment about this and how many people. But suppose that, and again, this is just for my own information. Suppose that the comments were overwhelmingly negative in the sense that people were asking for a change. But the board said, no, we're going to do what we want to do. We voted on this and we're going to stick with it. We don't care what people say because we're the authorities of healthcare provision and we think this is the way it should be.
At that point, once they've made the decision not to change it, it then goes to the AG's office. And if the AG believes that action, the way they put it, could be in any way construed as antitrust, they will tell us to change it. If they don't, then it would go back to us and the board would issue it for final notification. And at that point, if it is unchanged and you all or someone takes umbrage, they can request the oversight hearing from, talk to one of the members of either the Senate or the House Health and Welfare and request an oversight hearing, which has to be done within 30 days of the final notice. And if they agree to that, everybody shows up, they ask questions, the board presents its view, you present your view, and then they tell us what they think we should do.
Is the board required to follow that suggestion?
Generally, if they don't, they would probably end up with a veto from the governor. But, and of course, the board wants to keep its oversight committee very happy. So again.
Sure, yeah, okay. Okay,
Is this something that goes before the legislature too?
No, the legislature's input is through the oversight hearing. They only, if somebody wants to change the law, this is their review, this is the process of the Administrative Procedures Act of the state of Louisiana. And this is the process that rules are promulgated for the laws that are passed, and they have the opportunity to express their concern if requested by their oversight hearing.
Gotcha.
So I want to go back to, just because I want to clarify, the way the law is written currently does not say anywhere in it that you have to do this. So I always thought that rules can't add things that weren't in the law, they could only clarify them.
Well, I think this was an attempt to clarify this unique relationship of the non-advanced medical psychologists, okay? Again, I have no way, I have no way of knowing motive or anything like that, but I think this was an attempt. And the board felt very strongly about it and voted to pass it that way.
And is it safe to say that the board's intent here is to make sure that it was not just a nurse practitioner and medical psychologist making the decisions?
I think that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I think what if you look at the bigger picture, the person that is ultimately responsible for all drug interactions is going to be the primary care physician. So that, again, if there's a really an adverse reaction from the medication.
Well, Darla, the law does say, and this is under the section of consultation and collaboration for medical psychologists without a certificate of advanced practice. The medical psychologist shall also reconsult with the patient's physician prior to making changes in the patient's medication treatment protocol as established with the physician or as otherwise directed by the physician. So really, it's kind of in there.
Yeah,
Well,
when we changed that definition to primary care provider, that
Yeah.
threw the monkey wrench in.
But it also says treatment protocol, not medication changes, which I think
Yeah,
is,
that's the sticky point for me.
so, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I don't want to get in a big argument with anybody, but I do think this muddies the water, I think, more than it clears the water.
Well, part of me is trying to figure out a way to, like, boots on the ground, how could this work? When you've got three people involved, medical psych, nurse practitioner, physician. If the medical psychologist primarily is having a conversation with the nurse practitioner, I guess my assumption is, like we've talked about before, the nurse practitioner is responsible for making sure that that physician is on the same page and is kept up to speed. So could it be that the medical psychologists, through some sort of communication with the nurse practitioner to the physician, kind of approaches this like the treatment protocol? So, that initial consultation or collaboration rather with the nurse practitioner / primary care physician could lay it out as that treatment protocol. And then if something changes with that treatment protocol, kind of do the same thing. I kind of like, that's the way I would approach it. Like any medication changes, I would try to cover that in that initial treatment protocol that would get approved through the nurse practitioner and the primary care physician.
Well, I again, never want to ascribe motive to somebody who's not me, but it might be beneficial if, and I hear what you're saying about Or are they just changing the dosage from 1 milligram dose to another? Or are they changing both either the type of medication or the medication itself? And I think maybe it's appropriate that you all give us to take to the board as part of public comment, a clarification, suggest that this be clarified by adding whatever that you think is appropriate. And after the comment period, we can present it to the board and see what the board wants to do. I will make no guarantees other than they will see it.
Mhm.
I have no way of knowing what they're going to do. But I think you all have hit upon an opportunity to appear to be working together to get a good result. And, it's often better to work from a win-win than from a win-lose proposition.
Mhm. I think if it said medication treatment protocol changes require physician approval, I think that we would be satisfied. Am I speaking wrongly?
I think that's a much more palatable change for me because again, I don't know what medication changes mean. Does it mean, again, dosage? Does it mean drug in the same class? Does it mean, okay, we're going to stop the patient's escitalopram because he's doing so well? I mean, it's sort of it's just too
Well,
vague for me.
I think the key here is you all have an opportunity to design a change and propose it to the board. The board will look at it and hopefully accept it, but I can't predict what they're going to do. They could just out of hand say, never mind. In which case, when you go to oversight, the board's going to have to defend that decision.
Is that wording about protocol or the medication treatment protocol, is that going to clarify this? Or just add another, again, a question of, well, what does the protocol entail?
Well,
how do you
again,
define
I'm
protocol?
suggesting that you all propose a clarification that you all think says operationally the best way to do it. All the board can do is say, yeah, we agree, or no, we don't agree. But again, I think it's the opportunity from public comment, and that public comment can come from LAPA, it can come from people out in the field, it can come from anywhere. But if you all structure one, it's gonna have some weight too.
Well, we could also define in the terms what a treatment protocol encompasses.
I think that's the real issue here. I mean, what we have to do is
It's your
clarify.
opportunity to come to approach this in a win-win situation. So I think anything you can do to make it clear what you want and what you think is best. And all I can do is promise you the board will see it.
And I agree. I think that if we could figure out a way to define what is, quote, medication change. I mean, what's the real spirit of this? I mean, what do you want, the doc to tell you? Yeah, go ahead and change the class, or, oh yeah, I understand if the drug doesn't work, you got to up the dose or what, but it's got to be somewhat better than this because, I want to go from 2 milligrams of Lunesta to 3
Yeah.
on a Friday afternoon. Come
Yeah.
on, guys.
Yeah, and if you've got a string of patients with the same physician, you'll be on the phone with that physician multiple times that day. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I mean, the spirit of all this is kind of if you want to change class of drugs, right? Or you want to change from one type of antidepressant to another type of antidepressant. That makes more sense to me in terms of a quote medication change. But to go from, 10 milligrams of Lexapro to 20, I don't see where that's really a part of this. And I would think that may be what the board was thinking too. Yeah, hey, look, I don't want a wholesale change where they're going from an antipsychotic to an anticonvulsant. Maybe that's a class change,
Yeah,
right? So maybe when you formulate the wording here, it would be something more along the lines of change of medication regarding class or purpose, something along those lines.
yeah.
So when do the rules get published?
The 20th of December,
So a
Okay.
month.
and then you would have, is it 30 or 35 days to request a hearing? Or you can submit your written comments to us without a hearing unless you want to have a hearing.
Okay.
Right? And look, you all may not want to have a hearing. LAPA may want to have a hearing. There may be one medical prescribing psychologist out in the hinterlands that wants a hearing. If they request it, we're going to give it.
Okay, well, just keep in mind when you say the word hearing, I don't want to get anybody's expectations confused. The hearing consists of Dr. Van and a court reporter and possibly myself sitting in the boardroom accepting public comments. It's not a hearing where there's a pro and a con and people have
Oh,
dialogue back and
yeah.
forth and ask questions. It's just a ability to present in a formal manner on the record what your comments are. So you're welcome to come do that. Anyone's welcome to come do that, but please understand it's going to end up being a transcript and that transcript is going to be presented to the board. So it's not like the board is sitting there having a back and forth with anybody. I just didn't want anyone to be confused by it is called a hearing in the APA. He's using the terminology correctly,
Mhm.
but it's not a hearing like a trial. It's a hearing at which people can come and verbally make comments and they will be transcribed into a record to be presented to the board at a later date.
But that's, so it's not included with the public comments that come.
It is.
No.
It's just a different method of presenting public comment.
There would be any written public comments submitted, and as well as the transcription of the
Transcript of the hearing. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
Hmm.
Okay, that gives us time to think about it.
yeah, yeah,
How much time?
not a lot.
No.
Chris, can you work on an operational definition of a treatment protocol?
Sure.
And that might include, changes in drug class, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
When it's interesting, when we look at the resumes of people who are applying, how what we're looking for in their experience, it's the use of different classes of medications, the purpose of the different classes, that kind of stuff. It would seem to me, Chris, that if we could kind of get an operational definition based on some of that, because we aren't looking at, oh, he went from 18 milligrams of Concerta to 27. It was that he knows how to use Concerta. But then Concerta didn't work, so we wanted to go to amphetamines. It's more like that. I think that's what we're really talking about here, aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm throwing that in just as my 2 cents, Chris.
Mhm.
Or with inflation, my nickel.
So if, just thinking out loud, if the intent is that they don't want major medication changes that haven't already been discussed with the provider happening, couldn't we just eliminate that whole sentence and make that paragraph say not just primary care provider, but consulting, like just like the top one says, when you consult with a primary care provider other than the physician, you shall also review changes in treatment protocol as established by, would that cover it? I mean, or do we, as long as we have a definition of treatment protocol that everybody agrees to? Like, I don't even think you even need that sentence if you just make that paragraph say the same thing as the first one, but
Yeah, I see what
I'm
you're
not
saying.
sure what they're, like, again, we're not sure what they are concerned about, I guess, with just the term medication changes. So, okay.
Well, the real rub, in practical, day-to-day, practices that you're going to be dealing with a physician that more likely than not doesn't know the patient. And
And that
so,
was kind of the intent of changing the law in the first place, was to not to have people not consulting when they needed to, but to try to find some way of making it not as onerous for everybody when you do consult.
yeah, we set out to increase access to mental health care, particularly in rural areas. And I don't have any clue about how many PAs a physician in a rural area might supervise or how many NPs they might collaborate with, but obviously they can't keep up with every patient, and they don't. But we'll do it if the physician says, do what you want. I trust your judgment. Thanks for letting me know. Don't bother me again about this. Don't send me any more notes. We've heard all this. Don't bother me. Don't call me up. I know you know what you're doing. I don't know what you're doing, but you know what you're doing. So don't send me notes. Don't call me. Unless you're, leaving me in your will or something.
And you have enough that makes it worthwhile.
Yeah.
Well, I feel pretty comfortable we can come up with something that should make everybody feel comfortable.
Yeah, we'll work it out. We'll work it out. Okay, any more comments about the proposed rule change? And we'll let medical psychologists know that it's going to be published and that they can comment if they'd like to. Okay, so the next item on the agenda, we had talked about changing the requirement that psychological technicians, psychometricians, that those names be provided to the board and registered with the board. There's a whole section on that. Well, not a section, but there's actually one paragraph that has a number of subparagraphs. And so if we decide to go forward with this, we have to decide whether we're just going to eliminate the paragraph that requires us to provide the board the names and credentials of the psychometricians, psychological technicians, or are we going to eliminate that whole section? And I don't know if you can pull that up, Van, or not. It's the law. It's section 1360.
Working on it right now. 1360, you said, huh?
And it really starts with paragraph G and the subparagraphs under that.
Okay, I'm trying to get to it right now. Paragraph G, you said?
Yeah, paragraph G, and there's 7 subparagraphs under that. Number 5 is the one that requires providing the board those names and credentials.
Let's see. I may be having the wrong thing up here. Hang on a minute. Let me see if I can find it. 1360.63. That's the advisory committee. That's not us. Hold on a minute.
It's I'm sorry, it's 1360.61.
Okay, I'm trying to get it. Hold on a minute. Okay. I'm having a bit of a problem. 1 second. I'm going to stop my share. Let me close that. So you said 1360.
.61. Paragraph G.
See, all right, here we go. And that be, all right, so let me see here. I'll get that taken care of for you right now. That is the one that begins with. (1360)61 begins notwithstanding any law to the contrary.
Yes.
Okay, I got it up for you. Let me just share it now. You're talking about right here.
Right there. And so that first part just talks about what the technicians are allowed to do and that they shall hold a bachelor's degree, et cetera. The paragraph number 5 on the next page is the paragraph that we had talked, or the part that we had talked about eliminating. I don't know. I just want to be sure that that's the only thing in there that we're going to eliminate, or are we eliminating that whole section?
I would not agree to eliminate the whole section because I think we all, well, not we, many of us use technicians, and I think there need to be guidelines for that. It needs to be clear in the rules that you have professional responsibility for all of their actions. But with that being in the rules, I don't necessarily see why we need to have the board involved in registering those people unless the board really just wants to do that for some reason, because we're responsible ultimately for all of their performance.
Well, I raised this issue a year ago with Warren because we are not doing it. So
Yeah.
either we got to have to start doing it or we're going to have to get it out of the law.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is that something the board really feels like they need to do? I think I agree with Darla
Let me
that
say
the
this.
other paragraphs.
Prior to me arriving, the board never did it. And I never added it. So again, it's this sort of thing that I think board's not going to have a lot of problem with because we've never done it.
Well, I tell you where this language came from. It was from the when we were licensed under the psychology board. This was the exact language that they had, and they did track that, or I guess depending who was on the board, I think they tracked it. They probably do now, but that language just got transferred over when we were writing the bill for BME. So I think the other things cover the requirements pretty well, and I think they're pretty good. I like the bachelor's degree. I would just be in favor of eliminating that paragraph myself, and we could probably do that in an omnibus bill, couldn't we? Patricia or Van?
When you say an omnibus bill about what?
You know how they do those omnibus bills that just lump a lot of things together, and I may be using the term incorrectly.
I don't think this administration is going to do an omnibus bill. I'll be very candid with you. Okay?
Really?
I think, this administration is probably going to be targeting individual things and want them to be individual bills. And I don't think they'd have a problem if, LAPA brought that forward. I just don't see them doing omnibus bill. They got burned too many times in the last 2 years, and I don't think they're going to do another.
Okay. I was just trying to find a way where we didn't have to have one separate bill to eliminate 3 sentences. Well, actually, it's just 1 sentence, but yeah, if we do, we do. So LAMP will have to decide if they agree with that or not. I don't know if that's been formally discussed in a LAMP meeting, a board meeting or not. Do you know, Darla, Chris?
Not to my knowledge.
Yeah, I don't think it has, but I haven't been to a board meeting recently, so I'm not on the board.
Oh, okay.
But I do keep track of the emails that the board goes back and forth on, and that hasn't come up.
Okay. Darla, will the board meet
We will meet again,
in January or before?
not till January 30th.
Okay. Well, that's still time
But
to,
we can, if it's something that we need to, the board needs to discuss, they will, as a board, do electronic, vote and discussion and that kind of stuff if we needed something before then.
I don't think it has to be done before then. I've already spoken to Bud about it. He knows that it's just a simple little bill, and so he can get it done, he said. Okay, any other comments about that?
So did we decide that basically everything would stay except for number 5 and just delete it?
I think that's, do we need a motion for that? You want to make a motion, Darla?
If you want to direct the board to do this, that's one thing you may need a motion, which they could say no. But if you want to do it, you don't need a motion for us. I mean, this is your decision what to do.
Yeah, I was just wondering if
I think,
if our
I think the
committee
decision would
needed a
just-
motion.
yeah, I mean, I think the decision is as a committee, like, let the professional organization decide if this is what they want and they can handle it. If the board doesn't say, yes, we definitely want to do this, well, I would say just let them, as the professional society, move forward if they wanted to see about changing it.
Well,
Well-
again, if you want to if you want to have a vote, I'll be happy to present it to the board meeting in December, and I'll let you know what they say at the end of the meeting.
A vote by us or a vote by Lamp?
No, you need a vote. If you want me to ask the board to take it out as a board action for the next legislative session, certainly that can be done, but that would require board approval. You have to tell me you want me to ask the board to do it, and I'll get the board to say yes or no. And by December 16, you'll know whether you need to get Lamp to do it or we're gonna do it.
I'll make the motion then that we eliminate, what is that called, section 5 under, I'm sorry, I can't, whatever it is above that.
Paragraph G, yeah.
Paragraph G, well, it would be
Uh,
under,
Yeah, but what, 1360.61, paragraph G5.
right. I make a motion that be eliminated.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So Van, if the board doesn't agree to include that in their legislative agenda, that doesn't necessarily mean they disagree with it. They're just not going to pick it up.
Correct.
Okay, and then we still have time to Lamp has time to do its thing if they so choose.
Now, I will say this to you, it would be very helpful if the board chooses to take it up, that Lamp gets on board and doesn't oppose it.
Oh, that
yeah,
will
yeah.
happen.
Okay.
Yeah, that will not happen, I can assure you. We haven't been doing this obviously, and I think psychologists will be glad not to have to do it. Medical psychologists will be glad not to do it.
Okay.
I think everything is really covered in the other paragraphs there. Okay, well, good deal. Any other comments about that? Those are the only two things we have on the agenda. We didn't have any applications to review. There's one applicant that still is lacking one of the physician recommendations, but other than that, we really don't have anybody in the pipeline that I know of. So any attorney advice? We don't need, that's under executive session. So motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor? Everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank
Yes,
you.
indeed. God bless everybody and be
Thanks
safe
for all
over the
you do to
holidays.
Keep this moving along. We appreciate your input. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All
Matt.
right.
Thank you.